The offence of incitement to racial hatred involves publishing or distributing material which is insulting or abusive, which is intended to or likely to start racial hatred. So if you retweet that, then you're republishing that, and then potentially you're committing that offence. And we do have dedicated police officers who are scouring social media. Their job is to look for this material and then follow up with identification arrests and so forth. So it's a really, really serious. People might think they're not doing anything harmful. They are, and the consequences will be visited upon them.
This is my video update on this Thursday morning, August the 8th. Let's talk about some news. And let's start things off with the UK government talking about criminalizing retweets. That is what the UK government is talking about. The criminalization of retweets that the government considers to be harmful or hateful content. That is what is being floated out there by the Keir Starmer government. So when you retweet something that they decide, they're going to be the one to decide if this content is harmful and hateful. And how are we going to know if this content has been labeled harmful or hateful? Is there going to be some sort of label on the post or something like that? Are they going to force social media companies to put like a badge or a sticker on content that they decide is harmful or hateful? Anyway, if you retweet something, this is what they're talking about. This is what they're discussing. They're floating this out there, which is very alarming. But if you retweet something that they consider to be harmful or hateful, then you could be what? Fined? Arrested? I don't know. Are they going to arrest everybody that retweets something that they consider to be harmful or hateful? You can't arrest everybody, can you? You can fine people. That's something that they could easily do, I imagine. They can place a fine on you if you retweet something that they don't like. Crazy stuff. Absolutely crazy freaking stuff. But I guess that was the plan. So things are going according to plan. Never let a good crisis go to waste. But pretty soon they're going to be criminalizing not only retweets, but liking a post, bookmarking a post. Maybe in the future they'll criminalize just reading a post. I don't know. Opening up a post in your browser or in your mobile app. I don't know where they're going to take this. Maybe they find the social media companies, right? Maybe they go after Elon Musk and Twitter for allowing people to exercise their free speech, to post content that they consider to be harmful or hateful. Absolutely crazy freaking stuff. Can you imagine retweeting something that Keir Starmer says is hateful and the police knock on your door? I think they've actually done this. I think there are cases of the police knocking on people's door, asking them about content that they have posted, not retweeted, but posted on social media. I think this is happening already. But can you imagine just for retweeting? And sometimes people retweet something, not because they endorse it, but just because they want to put it out there. Maybe they want to comment on it. Maybe they disagree with the tweet, the original tweet, and they retweet it or quote it and present a different narrative to that post. I don't know. A retweet doesn't necessarily mean that you endorse the content. But yeah, the police could be knocking on your door, and I'm not talking about Sting and Andy Summers and Stuart Copeland. I'm not talking about the rock group, the police. I'm talking about the police knocking on your door. Excuse me, sir, did you retweet this post? Well, this post has been labeled harmful. We're going to fine you X amount of pounds. We're talking about the UK, X amount of pounds. Crazy stuff, man. Scary stuff. Very scary. Just the fact that they're talking about it is alarming. So Tulsi Gabbard, she has been placed on a flight surveillance list in the United States. This list is called the Quiet Skies Program, and this is according to Air Marshal whistleblowers. They are saying that Gabbard was placed on the Quiet Skies Program and that she is monitored every time she flies, according to the Air Marshal National Council, the AMNC. The outlet Uncover DC reported this week that Gabbard has 2 explosive detection K9 teams, 1 transportation security specialist, explosives, 1 plainclothes TSA supervisor, and 3 federal air marshals on every flight she boards, citing AMNC Director Sonia Labasco. That's a lot of people monitoring, surveilling, following Tulsi Gabbard whenever she flies. That is a lot of people. 2 explosive detection K9 teams. I don't know, what does that mean? 2 people? 1 transportation security specialist, 1 plainclothes TSA supervisor, 3 federal air marshals. I'm counting 7 people. Am I doing my Annalena math correctly? 2, 3 air marshals, explosive teams, carry the 360 degrees, multiplied by 720i. I'm counting 7 people, maybe more, that follow Tulsi Gabbard around whenever she flies. This is Tulsi Gabbard. This is not like me. Who am I? Or you, me or you? I mean, we're talking about someone who's in the U.S. military. We're talking about someone who was in Congress. She freaking ran for president of the United States. She ran for the nomination, the Democratic Party nomination. When was it? In 2020, right? We're talking about that Tulsi Gabbard. You know, Tulsi, who was at the debates with Pete Buttigieg, and I believe Biden was there, and of course Kamala, Elizabeth Warren, and it was that Tulsi who with one line during those debates completely sunk Kamala's chances of getting the nomination in 2020, and they went with Biden, and eventually Kamala became the vice president, and eventually they figured out a way to get Kamala to be the Democratic Party presidential nominee. Eventually, they got her in that spot. But man, they haven't forgiven Tulsi. They haven't forgiven Tulsi for what she did back at those debates. Am I correct on the year? Was it 2019 during the debates for the 2020 presidential race? Yeah, I think I'm right. But I remember the debate. She completely sunk Kamala Harris. She had to drop out, Kamala Harris. She was done. She didn't even make it to Iowa, to the Iowa primaries. She didn't make it because of Tulsi Gabbard, and they have not forgiven her for that. So yesterday we also had the FBI, Clarice, all the way to the FBI. Yeah, they raided Scott Ritter's house, the FBI. According to Scott, he spoke to the media after the FBI finished their raid on his house, and Scott said that this was about violating the FARA Act, the Foreign Agents Act. You know, the FARA Act that the U.S. government has weaponized and that they enforce. When you're not on their side, they enforce it. When you're part of the club, they don't enforce it. But when you're not part of the club, they weaponize it and enforce it. The Foreign Agents Act, you know, the Foreign Agents Act that Georgia passed, the law that they passed, and you almost got a regime change. The Foreign Agents Act law that I believe Slovakia is trying to pass now, but the EU is warning them not to pass this law. If you're working for a foreign government, you have to register. In Georgia's case, it's with NGOs. If your NGO is being financed by a foreign government, you have to register. But they're pretty much the same thing, right? If you're getting paid by a foreign government, if you're an American citizen and you're getting paid by a foreign government to do work for that foreign government, you have to register under the FARA law, the FARA Act. I talked about this a couple of days ago with Kellyanne Conway and how she is now getting $50K a month to work for the oligarch Viktor Pinchuk, for the government of Ukraine, essentially, but for Viktor Pinchuk, and her task is to try and get Trump to side with Ukraine and with the Zelensky regime. That is what she's being paid to do, to try to win Trump over to Ukraine's side. But she had to register with FARA. And so what Scott said is that they raided his home. They took something like 20, 25 boxes. This has to do with the Foreign Agents Act, violating the Foreign Agents Act. And I believe Scott said, I could be wrong about this, but I remember him telling the media that was outside his home that basically what the FBI took, or what they were interested in, were communications, electronic communication and stuff like that. I think that's what he said, but I could be wrong about that. I remember him saying they took something like 20 or 25 boxes, but he seemed very confident, very upbeat, very confident. He said he's not going to stop speaking out against what he believes in. He's not going to stop speaking out about what he believes in, and that this is all about intimidation, scaring him. And he said he's not intimidated. He's not scared. So Scott has a history with Biden. Back when he was a weapons inspector, I remember seeing videos between Biden and Scott, and you could tell that Biden was not very happy with Scott, because Scott was talking about the BS Iraq WMDs. I believe that was the exchange that I've seen, and Biden was not happy about Scott blowing the whistle on the BS with Iraq and Saddam Hussein and all of that stuff. I think that's what the exchange between Biden and Scott was at the time. But whatever it was, Biden does not like Scott, the Biden clan, and so they obviously don't like it when Scott speaks out about the conflict in Ukraine or Israel, and so it looks like they went after him with this FBI raid. Oh boy, what a day, huh? What a day. All right, let's now talk about some news from Project Ukraine, the Kursk invasion. Let's talk about the Kursk invasion that the Zelensky regime is undertaking. And there are some reports that are now saying that the Ukraine military, they have captured the town of Sudza. I think I'm pronouncing that correctly, which is an important area, because it's important for energy reasons. It's not a strategic military area, but for energy, because it has the pipeline, a pipeline that I believe is not active anymore, but still, it's an important area. Ukraine, some reports are saying Ukraine has captured this town. Other reports are saying that they've surrounded this area, and there are other reports saying that none of this has happened. I don't know what to believe. I don't know if it's really, I mean, it's important. I guess it's important for Ukraine and for the Zelensky regime to say that they've captured this town. But even if they do capture this town or this area, how long can Ukraine hold this town or this area? A week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks? I mean, it's one thing to capture territory. It's another thing to hold on to territory. And at what price, at what cost is all of this coming with? Does Ukraine have the ability to, the luxury to lose all of the soldiers and weapons, artillery and tanks that they're losing as they're trying to make this incursion into Russia? They don't. And a lot of analysts, as I said yesterday in my video update, a lot of analysts, very pro-Ukrainian analysts, are very upset at this this invasion, this incursion that the Ukraine military is conducting. They're very upset because they're basically saying that as the Ukraine military in the Donbass is crumbling, they're running out of ammunition, they're running out of soldiers, reinforcements, and Russia continues to advance in the Donbass. They continue to annihilate the Ukraine military in the Donbass. The Zelensky regime, they're using up these resources into this incursion of Russia, when these resources could be used to reinforce what's happening in the Donbass. A lot of pro-Ukrainian analysts and bloggers and journalists are very, very upset with Zelensky, or at least that's what they're making it out to be. I mean, that's what they're posting, that this is stupid. What are you doing? Why are you doing this? Shouldn't these resources be used in the Donbass, in areas, in directions like New York, for example, so we don't lose New York? He's doing this, Zelensky's doing this for the media attention, yeah. Maybe to distract away from the losses in Donbass. Maybe Zelensky's doing this, and there's a line of thinking which is saying that that Zelensky is doing this incursion, even though he knows that the Ukraine military will not be able to hold on to this territory. Maybe he's hoping they can hold on long enough so that he can use this as some sort of a bargaining chip in negotiations with Russia, because right now Ukraine has nothing in terms of leverage if they enter negotiations with Russia. So maybe he's thinking, if I hold this territory, if I hold this area where there's a gas pipeline, maybe if I can get to the nuclear power plant or thread in the nuclear power plant. There's some analysts who say that that the Ukraine military is going to make another go at the Zaporozhye nuclear power plant. So maybe if they can have both nuclear power plants in range of artillery and weapons and missiles, drones, whatever, maybe they can use that as leverage over Russia during some future negotiations that'll take place in a couple of months. But can Ukraine hold this area in Kursk for a couple of months? No, of course not. Even the most pro-Ukraine military analysts and pro-Ukraine mapping channels are saying Ukraine can hold on to this territory in pre-2014 Russia for a maximum of 2 to 3 weeks. Most analysts and experts are giving Ukraine maybe 1 week to 10 days before the Russians completely annihilate these Ukrainian forces. That once again, these forces once again could have been used to reinforce the front lines in Donbass, and now we're going to go to waste in this incursion. And we're talking about some of the best Ukraine forces, some of the most elite Ukraine forces that are fighting in this direction in Kursk. So maybe that is the plan. Maybe it's all of these things. Maybe it's not just one. Maybe it's for the media attention. Maybe it's to distract away from what's happening in Donbass. Maybe it's to provide a bit of a morale boost to the Ukraine military, to Ukrainian society. Maybe it's to get weapons and money from the EU and from the United States. look what we can do. We can invade Russia, so give us more weapons, give us more money. And maybe, just maybe, they believe they can hold on to this territory for a couple of months and use it as leverage in negotiations. But what's going to happen is the exact opposite. What's going to happen? We've actually seen this play out before. What's going to happen is that that Putin and the Russian government, they're just going to create another buffer zone in the Sumy area, and they're going to push Ukraine back, and then they're going to push Ukraine even further back in the Sumy direction. They'll push them all the way to Kiev. I don't know. Right? Russia's going to retaliate. They're going to hammer Kiev. They're going to hammer Ukraine. They're going to push back these forces, and they're going to create another buffer zone, like the buffer zone they have in Kharkov. And effectively, what Russia's going to do is they're going to create a fifth front. Right now we have 4 fronts, of which Ukraine is spread very thin. They can't fight on all 4 fronts. They're going to create a 5th front, which will be in this direction, in Sumy. So this is going to boomerang against them spectacularly, against Zelensky. We've seen this play out in Kharkov. They tried the same thing in Kharkov with Belgorod, and look what happened. It was a disaster for the Zelensky regime. They're gonna meet the same disaster with this stunt. That's what I think is going to happen. Even the New York Times, they interviewed analysts, and even the New York Times, according to the analysts that they interviewed, said that this is dumb. Even they said this is stupid. We don't understand what Ukraine is doing. They're not going to be able to hold on to this territory. Russia eventually is going to destroy all of the Ukraine forces and all of the weapons and material that are being employed in this area, and then Russia's gonna go on the offensive, and then we're gonna have another front, another headache, not only in Kharkov but in Sumy. Even the New York Times is reporting this. So the U.S. State Department was asked about this. The Biden White House was asked about this incursion into Kursk, and even the Biden White House, their response was mixed. They said that they support Ukraine and that this doesn't violate how American weapons are used against Russia, and the Ukraine military, the Zelensky regime, they can make their decisions, whatever, fine. They threw out those standard lines, but they even said that they're talking with Ukraine, trying to figure out what exactly they're trying to do. Even they're a bit perplexed, or at least that's the impression that they gave. Now, I'm sure that there are parts of the U.S. government that coordinated this with Ukraine, with the Ukraine military, and I've been reading that the UK government was very much involved in this operation. But the U.S. government is like 5 governments in one. So just because there's some parts of the U.S. government that may have known about this operation, it doesn't mean all parts of the U.S. government knew about this operation. And maybe the Biden White House was kept out of the loop. Maybe the 3-letter agencies or Sullivan, maybe they knew about what was going on, and they just kept it quiet from the State Department. Who knows? But the impression that I got from the State Department, their statement was that they're kind of trying to figure this out as well. They don't think this was a good idea or a good use of weapons and men, which Ukraine does not have to spare. Anyway, that's the situation in Kursk. Give it a couple of days, give it a couple of weeks, and it will resolve in the favor of Russia. And then wait and see what Russia does after they annihilate the Ukraine forces in Russian territory. It's going to be hard. It's going to be heavy and hard what Russia does once they deal with this incursion. This is not going to have the effect that the Zelensky regime believes it's going to have. But this is their Hail Mary. This is their Hail Mary pass. They believe that maybe if they can successfully hold this territory, maybe if they can threaten one nuclear power plant in Kursk, maybe another down south, maybe they can negotiate with Russia on favorable terms. It sounds crazy to me, but we'll see. Anyway, let's Let's wrap up this video with an update on what is happening in Iran. And the Washington Post, as I reported yesterday, now the Washington Post is reporting that U.S. diplomacy is starting to have its effect on Iran. This is what the Washington Post, this is what U.S. mainstream media is reporting, not Alex. my video yesterday was not me reporting this. It was what the Jerusalem Times was reporting. So this is what U.S. mainstream media is now starting to report, and that is that U.S. diplomacy is starting to get through to Iran, and they're starting to sway Iran into not taking such a huge retaliation against Israel for what happened in Tehran. This is what the mainstream media is reporting. Does it mean this is what's going to happen? No. We could see tomorrow, Saturday, Sunday, we could see a very big strike against Israel, and then we could see all-out war if that does happen. But according to U.S. mainstream media, U.S. diplomacy with Iran is starting to kind of work. And the indications are that Iran is listening. They're listening. And maybe, not definitely, maybe the retaliation will be done in a way that the Iranian government saves face, and we avoid a larger conflict. At least for the time being, we avoid a larger conflict. That's the update. We'll see what's going to happen. I think Alexander was talking about this on his video yesterday, that a retaliation in whatever form it's going to come in is going to happen in the next couple of days. After there's an Arab, I believe an Arab or a Middle East summit, and Iran wants to update all the leaders in the region. They want their support before something goes down. That's basically the timeline of events. So anyway, that's the video, everybody. I don't really have a clown world today. I'm trying to think, is there anything in the world worthy of a clown world segment? Well, of course, I opened with a clown world, and that is the criminalization of retweets. I think that's a pretty big clown world. But what else? What else? I don't have anything. I really don't have anything. I read somewhere that Taylor Swift is going to be endorsing Kamala Harris soon. I don't know. I don't know if that's clown world material. I don't know. But there was like a terror threat against Taylor Swift in Vienna. Like IS. There was like some sort of IS threat, and they had to call off her concerts or something like that. Anyway, I don't know. That's the video. I'll leave it there. TheDuran.locals.com. We are on Rumble, ODYSEE, BitChute, Telegram, Rockfin, and Twitter X. And go to the Duran shop. Pick up some merch, like the t-shirt that I'm wearing today. You will find a link to the shop in the description box down below. Take care.